Good evening and welcome to the UNZA Digital Media Hub main news broadcast. The headlines. In local news, PEP concerned with dissolving of parastatal boards, rescue small-scale farmers, Chanda. And in international news, tropical cyclone batters kills 10 people in Oman and Iran. In sports news, Dhaka and Mwepu out of Zambia-Tunisia clash. With the news in detail, my name is Nyirongo Tawonga. Patriots for Economic Progress PEP Party has expressed concern over the new administration's pattern of dissolving boards of parastatal organizations without replacing them. PEP Party President Sean Tembo says this dissolving is not doing the country any good as there are vacuums being created in the institutions.
Business cannot be able to move forward without having a substantive board in place because the CEO or the managing director cannot be able to make certain decisions. Our expectation was that whenever President Hakainde Hichilema dissolves the parastatal board, he would immediately replace such a board. And so our appeal to the president is that if he does not have anybody available yet to replace these people who have been dissolved in these boards for parastatals, then he should allow the old boards to keep operating.
Furthermore, the party president says there is no need to dissolve these boards if there are no plans to replace them for effective running of the parastatals. Farming activist Sunday Chanda has called on President Hakainde Hichilema to come to the rescue of thousands of small-scale farmers across the country whom he says Food Reserve Agency FRA has condemned to destitution. Chanda, who is also Kanchibia constituency member of parliament, says poverty and destitution are beckoning at thousands of affected small-scale farmers following an announcement by FRA stating that they will buy maize. He says government through FRA should honor the promise they made to small-scale farmers across the country of buying maize till 31st October 2021.
Farmers spent money to buy their own empty grain bags. They spent money to transport maize to FRA depots. Today, the farmers have been told that FRA will no longer buy their maize. What crime have they committed? Is this fair? Why didn't FRA tell farmers not to take the maize to the depots in the first place? Why are they being told now, after they've been made to wait for more than 2 months, and after they've already spent money on transport, after sleeping in the open cold for more than 40 days? Where does government expect these farmers, small-scale farmers, to get money to buy new grain bags, to repack the produce, since the old ones have been damaged by the sun at FRA depots across the country?
Chanda further says the delay by government to flag off the distribution of fertilizer and seed to farmers due to an audit taking place in the Ministry of Agriculture is totally unacceptable. The Southern African Network Against Corruption, SANAC, has called on the government to initiate changes at the investigative institutions in the country to strengthen the fight against corruption. SANAC Director Gregory Chifire says SANAC is supporting calls by some sections of the society to change leadership for investigative wings, which include the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC, the Drug Enforcement Commission DEC, and the Financial Intelligence Center FIC board. He has further appealed to the Inspector General of Police to consider instituting changes at the Criminal Investigations Unit CID in order to implement new strategies for fighting corruption. Still in local news, the Minister of Health has confirmed an outbreak of measles in Iteji district of Central Province. Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Kennedy Malama, has disclosed that an investigation into the outbreak has since been instituted. Dr. Malama says a multidisciplinary team from the ministry has been on the ground to provide the necessary technical support. He adds that the team is on the Copper Belt where an investigation has also been instituted in the reported food poisoning cases. The permanent secretary says it is closely monitoring the threat of other sensational or seasonal outbreaks through its disease intelligence unit under the Zambia National Public Health Institute. Dr. Malama further states that the public and business houses have since been urged to uphold high standards of hygiene and food safety. We take a short break. Still to come is international news and sports news. Don't go away. Welcome back, and now in international news. 10 people have died after a tropical cyclone Shaheen battered parts of Iran and Oman. The storm arrived in the area on Sunday with winds between 120 and 150 kilometers per hour. In Iran, authorities said 6 people thought to be fishermen were killed in a port in the southeastern province of Sistan, Baluchistan. The country's official media says infrastructure, including electrical facilities and roads, were damaged. For more in international news, we monitor the BBC.
It's Monday, it's the 4th of October, and the top story this morning is that the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, will promise to spend an extra £500 million on helping people into work when he addresses the Conservative Party conference in Manchester later today.
His speech comes at a time of rising living costs and falling business confidence. From Manchester, our political correspondent Chris Mason reports.
Not the traditional uniform of a Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak turned up here yesterday in a hoodie. Before long, he'd found his suit and his fans. Plenty of Conservatives think he might be Prime Minister one day. I spotted Rishi Sunak last night rehearsing here in the auditorium. It's a pretty big moment for him, his first in-person address as a Chancellor at a Conservative Party conference, because he's only been in the job for a little over 18 months. But what an 18 months it's been with the pandemic. Almost as soon as he got the job, he was announcing an unprecedented splurge in public spending on things like the furlough scheme. Expect him today, though, to say his instinct is to be cautious with taxpayers' money and cut taxes where possible, even though he's had to put them up, and that isn't going down well with some people here.
We must always be looking to ensure the money spent by the state is spent efficiently, and the tax burden is reasonable, and we are at the upper reaches of the reasonableness of the tax burden.
None of us want to see taxes rise. You know, we are a low tax party. We understand that it's enterprise that are going to deliver the opportunities, and we need to keep the tax burden low at the same time as continuing to grow our economy.
And all this as energy bills go up for many. There are bottlenecks getting supplies to some shops, and plenty of us have had to queue for petrol. On jobs, Rishi Sunak will say the existing Kickstart scheme in England, Scotland and Wales, helping young people into work, is to be extended, and there'll be support too for the over 50s to help them stay in and return to work. Chris Mason, BBC News in Manchester.
And finally, in sports news, the Football Association of Zambia has employed players in camp to step up to the absence of Patson Daka and Enoch Mwepu in Group 2 2022 Quarter World Cup qualifiers against Tunisia. FA's President Andrew Kamanga says the English-based duo will miss the home fixture as Zambia is in the COVID-19 red zone according to Global Rating. Kamanga adds that the Copper Bullets should forget the 2-1 win against Mauritania and focus on the next assignment on Tuesday in Dola. Daka and Mwepu have since left for their bases in England after leading the team to a victory in Nouakchott. The Copper Bullets now sit second with an inferior goal difference to group leaders Tunisia despite having the same points. On Friday, Zambia opened its campaign for the Group B 2022 Quarter World Cup qualifier with a 2-1 win with goals from Enoch Mwepu and Price Mumba. That sports item ends the main news, but before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made headlines. In local news, Patriots for Economic Progress PEP Party has expressed concern over the new administration's pattern of dissolving boards of parastatal organizations without replacing them. Farming activist Sunday Chanda has called on President Hakainde Hichilema to come to the rescue of thousands of small-scale farmers across the country whom he says Food Reserve Agency FRA has condemned to destitution. In international news, 10 people have died after a tropical cyclone Shaheen battered parts of Iran and Oman. In sports news, Football Association of Zambia FAZ has implored players in camp to step up to the absence of Patson Daka and Enoch Mwepu in Group B 2022 Quarter World Cup qualifiers against Tunisia. That's it for tonight. Do join us again tomorrow for the main news at the same time. On behalf of the entire Digital Media Hub News production crew, my name is Tawonga Nyirongo. Good night.